Mark, a detective in Los Angeles, is taking some time off to mourn the death of his wife, Rose, and this has made him drink too much. But when he hears that his son Trent has been caught fighting, he has to go back to the station. Officer Garcia talks the other guy out of pressing charges, so Mark lets Trent out and then yells at him for a long time. Since Rose died, things have been tense between them, and when Trent finds out Mark spent his money on alcohol instead of filling up the car's tank, things get even worse. They decide to take the train instead, and on the way there, Trent gives some money to a blind homeless man Sarge. Mark can't sit still on the train. Roses ring, and she chooses to listen to Trent's side of the story. This gives them a sweet moment to get to know each other better. The train stops all of a sudden, and a bright blue light shows in the sky at the same time. Mark asks Audrey, a transit worker, what's going on. She tells him that the power is out and the radio isn't working. Then something makes the whole basement shake, and Audrey hears on the radio, "Don't look at the lights." When the whole train shakes again, the group chooses to leave. As they walk along the railing, they hear strange noises coming from above. Officer Jones is the only one in the station when Garcia comes out of the bathroom. They look around and see the bright light outside. Everyone is going toward the blue glow, except for Sarge, who is blind and can't see it. The underground group gets to the station and tries to find a safe way out, but a woman who wants to get back to her family is so desperate that she tries to leave through the stairs. Trent follows her around to try to get her to come back, and when they both look at the light, half of their faces turn black. Mark sees this and closes his eyes to grab his son, and keep him here while the light suddenly turns into a beam that takes away everyone who looks at it. Mark opens his eyes and sees that the beam came from a very large spaceship. After that, Mark brings Trent back to the subway stop. He, Audrey, and the few people who are still alive then go back to the tunnels to walk through them. There, they meet Garcia, Jones, and Sarge, who also want to find a safe way out. Garcia also gives Mark bought a gun to protect himself. After walking all night, they find a set of stairs with a window that lets them see that the Air Force is attacking the spaceship. Jones finally gets a signal on her radio and asks for help, but it's turned down because they're about to bomb the city without caring if there are any people left. The defenses of the spaceship easily take out the Air Force, and as bombs and planes start to hit the ground, the tunnel starts to fall apart. The group runs away right away, but the debris kills the unknown survivors. The rest of the group finds a hole in the ceiling, but just as they are about to leave, an alien appears in the tunnel and attacks them. The creature eats Garcia and then turns on its light to draw Trent again. Mark starts shooting at it until it dies. Then he saves Garcia, who is surprised that he could breathe inside the thing. Jones wonders if the aliens want them to stay alive, but just then, the thing wakes up and grabs Jones to take her brain. Mark shoots again to give the others a chance to get away. This gives the alien a chance to grab Mark by the legs. Luckily, Audrey has an emergency flare with her. She gives it to Mark, who throws it at the thing to make it move away. After that, he puts it in the gas tank of a car that fell into the hole. If the thing tries to follow the group as they run away, the car will explode and kill it. Now that they're outside, they can see that the spaceship is sending a big alien after them. The group starts to run away, but the alien is too close, so Garcia stays behind to buy his friends some time. Unfortunately, his bullets don't do anything, and the alien's tentacle eats him up. Mark, Trent, Audrey, and Sarge see helicopters in the area and try to get their attention. The giant alien suddenly stops their way and shoots down the helicopters. Then the lights of the spaceship start to move the group away, but it can't take Sarge, so the alien picks him up by hand. When the big alien goes back to its ship, it turns out that this big thing is actually a big robot that is being driven by a small alien. Now that the alien has finished harvesting in the United States, it moves the ship to start harvesting in other places. Mark, on the other hand, wakes up in a room with dead people and strange slime. Another creature there is also a robot, and it is taking people's brains. Mark moves around the tentacles to try to find Trent. When he shoots at the robot, the alien captain sees him on his cameras and turns on the beam again. Except for Mark, whose head is grabbed by the robot in an attempt to get his brain, all the bodies are taken away. Mark shoots the tentacle right away and falls into a stream of water coming out of the ship. When he is about to fall overboard, his leg gets stuck on the ship's fence, which saves him but hurts him. Then Mark climbs back inside and finds out that human brains are being put into more robots so that they can be used as troops. The captain is the only living thing inside. Mark goes deeper into the house, not knowing that Jared is following him. He finds rotting bodies and eggs hanging from the ceiling that look like they have kids inside. Mark is attacked by one of the tentacle robots, but Jared, whose eyes are red instead of blue like all the other lights here, saves him just in time. Mark follows Jared into another room while he tells him he wants to find his son because more enemies are coming. Mark's leg is cauterized by Jared before he takes him to see Elaine, who has been pregnant for 3 months and is about to give birth. Elaine says that as soon as she saw the light for the first time, she became pregnant. On the other hand, every time her husband Jared looked at it, he got stronger. This made him immune to it. Jared still knew who he was after the alien put his brain in a robot. Usually, the alien takes the kids right out of the mother's bellies, but Jared saved her from that horrible fate. Mark helps Elaine have a healthy baby girl, but Elaine dies while giving birth. In exchange for Mark getting the baby safely off the ship, Jared agrees to help Mark find Trent. Nobody sees that the baby can make her eyes glow red. Trent and Audrey, on the other hand, wake up and find that they are hanging from vines on the roof. Trent gets the other flare out of Audrey's pocket and cuts her vine. He then grabs Audrey and throws her down the stairs. He jumps after her, and as they try to get down, they see that Sarge is also hanging from a vine. The captain finds Elaine's body after Jared and Mark leave the room. He then starts looking for the baby. Mark is first taken to the armory, where Jared gives him an alien weapon that is directly connected to the nerve cells in his arm. Then Jared starts putting bombs on the ship to blow it up. Trent is. The captain showed up at that moment, so Jared opened a way for Trent to go to the vine room while he stayed behind to fight the captain. Mark finds Trent jumping on the vine room. Sarge's plan to help him get away. Trent lets Sarge go by making the vine swing, while Mark puts the baby down and runs upstairs to help right before the vine breaks. Trent tries to hold on to Mark's hand, but the robot's arms are stronger, and they pull Trent away, take his brain, and throw his body in the pile. Audrey is grabbed by another tentacle, so Mark jumps on it and uses the strange blade Jared gave him to cut it off. Audrey gets to the floor safely, and the robot falls on Mark, but Mark uses the blade to kill it. In the meantime, the captain beats Jared to the point where he looks dead and leaves him. Jared is only acting, and he shows that he is still holding a bomb. Mark tries to attack the captain in the vine room, but the blade stops working all of a sudden. This gives the captain a chance to go after the baby. Sarge gets in his way to buy time, and while Audrey gets the baby, he gets hurt. As soon as the captain turns around to go after her, Mark and Jared finally set off the bombs, and the ship goes up in flames and crashes in a rural part of Laos. Swar and Kanya, who work with a group called a gang, see the crash. There are cops in the area who are trying to stop the alien robots and catch cartel members at the same time. So, Swar kills one cartel member while Officer Juana uses a flamethrower to destroy the robot. When the kids get close to the ship, one of the eggs is on the ground. Kanya picks it up and puts it in her bag. Thanks to the alien goo, Mark, Audrey, and the baby were able to crash safely. Sarge is also still alive, but his wound is so bad that he is barely holding on. While the group jumps into the river to get away from the ship, the captain wakes up and starts making more robots with human brains. Trent is one of them. For a second, he can see his memories before the code takes over. A moment later, Mark and the others reach the shore, where they run into the siblings. As they start to argue about what they want to do, Sarge dies from his injuries. Swar feels bad and agrees to take them back to their camp, where Audrey changes the baby, who is growing at a worrisome rate. While Mark is washing his hands, Kanya looks in his pocket and sees his badge. Now Mark's brothers think he's here to spy on them. Mark is attacked by Swar, and the two men fight hard while Kanya tries to keep Audrey away from the baby. Mark is doing well because he has been training, but Audrey is new and Kanya has no trouble beating her. At that time, Juana shows up with more police, so both fights have to stop so they can figure out what to do. Mark says he'll help if Swar takes them to a doctor for the baby, so they make a deal. Swar carefully leads the group through the minefields, and when they stop to camp for the night, Mark tells them that there was only one real alien on the ship. He wants to know if the people inside the robots can be set free like Jared was. Mark tells Audrey about Rose afterward. Mark's friend Juana wakes him up the next morning. Swa saves him right away by shooting Juana in a way that doesn't kill him. But just as he's about to shoot again to kill him, Audrey stops him. Then she checks on the baby, who has grown up and is now a young child. The group leaves with Juana as a prisoner and makes it to an old temple where the gangs have set up their hideout. Juana is put in a cell, and the child is taken to see Dr. Harper, who confirms that the child has a fever. Harper does some tests while Mark thinks about whether or not he can trust this place. Swa tells him that they made this during the war to protect themselves from American attacks. If they can survive American attacks, they can survive aliens, too. A few seconds later, Harper says that the child isn't really a person. Kanya runs away in fear and leaves her bag behind, so Harper can find the egg. When Kanya tries to take the child away because he is an enemy, the others stop her, and Mark tells her about the tests he saw, which means that the child is also a victim. After that, Harper gives a full explanation. The kid's steady growth has used up her whole system, and she's about to shut down. She needs blood, but Harper doesn't think any of them will work. Mark shows him his arm and tells him about the weapon that was attached to his body, so they decide to try using his blood. The next morning, the child is healthy and well, and she has grown even more. Harper does more tests with the egg Kanya found and finds that the blue light that changes their minds is naturally compatible with human DNA. He thinks that aliens put people on Earth as a crop and that they come back every few thousand years to harvest it. But they didn't think about how things have changed over time. Harper makes a serum from the egg and the kid's blood that will be put in the beam cannon. The changed light will free all the robots from mind control, and the serum will be put in the beam cannon. The group starts getting ready for the fight by getting weapons, and Audrey and Kanya go outside to set up traps. The captain sends a big robot to attack at that time. Kanya sets off one of the traps, but the alien technology is so advanced that the bomb is just a scratch. So, she shoots at it to get its attention. Then Kanya runs into the minefield, and the alien sets off one of the mines as it follows her. It takes more damage from this explosion, but it's still not enough to destroy it. Kanya takes a step back and steps on a mine by chance. She knows there's no way out, so she uses her radio to say goodbye to her brother and then takes her foot off when the robot gets close enough. When the mine goes off, they both fall. The blast showed where they were, so the captain starts to fly the ship toward the temple. Mark thinks they should leave, but Swa says that his people will always be there to protect the caves. Even though the chances are low, Mark asks for the serum so that he can try to put it in the gun while everyone else fights the alien. The cartels start setting up traps all over the tunnels, and Mark leaves the child with the citizens in a room at the back. Mark gets out of the hideout just as the robots from another planet start coming down the tubes. The bombs do a lot of damage, and the gangs use their guns to finish off the robots. Then Swa gets ready to start a fire by the door, but an alien comes in through a hole it makes in the ceiling and surprises them. Before it finds Swa, the alien kills a lot of people. Swa fights it and leads it back to the door so he can set it on fire and kill it. Since so many fighters have died, Swa lets Juana go so that he can ask him to join the fight. The survivors then start to leave through a secret tunnel. Mark goes around the temple and sneaks into the spaceship through the back door. Mark remembers what Jared did, so he opens a hole in the wall and goes through it to get to the cannon room. One of the guards sees this. At that moment, the cannon shoots out a light to try to brainwash the survivors who are coming out, but everyone remembers to close their eyes. The child doesn't care because she can protect herself by making her eyes glow red. One of the gangs fires a rocket at the light to destroy it, but before anyone can get away, another giant robot driven by the captain shows up and starts destroying the place. Everyone starts fighting the army of robots that come with the big one. When one of them is about to get to Audrey and the kid, Harper steps in front of it to protect them, but he dies in the process. The guard finds Mark inside the ship and strikes him. Mark drops Rose's ring during the fight, and when the guard sees it, he hesitates. Mark sees this as Trent, but since the boy isn't completely free yet, Mark has to push him down to the lower level to save himself. Then he takes an egg from the plants, injects it with the serum, and throws it into the beam. This changes the color of the light from blue to red. Trent's memories come back right away, but before the light can reach the others, the captain uses his robot to break the beam gun. This makes Mark jump off the ship so he doesn't die with the ship. Then Mark finds a broken robot and takes its blade so he can join the fight. He, Swa, and Juana all work together to keep the girls safe. When the captain's giant robot comes closer, it's hit by a second one, which is Trent's giant robot that he stole from the ship. As soon as the two giants start to fight, the captain quickly beats Trent. Mark gives Swa the blade before he goes to find the rocket launcher, which he uses to shoot at the captain's robot to give his son a chance. Swa and Juana keep fighting the robots that can think like people, but Juana gets trapped and dies. Audrey puts the child down to help with the fight, but when she turns around, the child is gone. The child walks over to the fallen cannon and starts it up again, ignoring the fight going on around her. The captain sees this and comes to kill her, but Mark runs to defend her and Trent pushes the captain to the ground. Then Trent takes the gun and shoots at the captain, killing it. This shot also makes a red light appear in the sky, which stops the mind control of all humans. When the father and son finally see each other again, Audrey picks up the child and gives her the name Rose. A few months later, Rose is now a young woman and is in charge of the ship they made from the alien ship's parts. Her group is made up of both humans and people who are stuck in robot bodies, like Trent. Together, they're finally ready to fly to the aliens' home world and stop them from ever coming back. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more movie recaps. See you in the next video.